Welcome, beautiful souls, beautiful beings. Welcome back to Crystalline Temple. Thank you for staying in tune with my frequency, my vibe, my wisdom, my truth. And today is going to be a video that I've been waiting to make for such a long time. Today I'm going to be discussing the importance of knowing thyself and some spiritual conscious book recommendations that have helped me along my journey, and hopefully they will help you too. So let's get into the video. Know thyself is one of the oldest spiritual teachings that we have, that we hear in books, movies, through Kemetic spirituality, through esoteric wisdom and knowledge. And, maybe it's even something that comes up naturally through our own meditation and our journey of self. We can even say that know thyself is a code, or maybe even a cheat code, to really understand our reality and our role in this spiritual game, or this matrix, or this holographic universe. Know thyself doesn't mean fixing yourself, not mean becoming somebody else that you are not. Simply means having awareness of self. To know thyself is to understand your inner world, your thoughts, your emotions, your cycles, your patterns, even your reactions. Because everything you are experiencing externally begins internally. Why is it important to know thyself? I like to keep it simple and say that if you do not know yourself, then someone else is going to make you to be someone you're not. If you do not know yourself, someone else is going to define you. We could see that in media. We could see that through family dynamics, friendships, the influence of the world. The world programs the mind. Trauma programs the nervous system. Fear programs perception. Other people project onto you. And the body speaks through symptoms when the mind is not heard. When you do not return to self, the world teaches you who it wants you to be. Often through stress, confusion, survival, comparison. Comparison is the thief of joy. Knowing thyself isn't about control. It's about clarity, and it's also about freedom. Knowing thyself connects to the kingdom within. What is this kingdom within? I feel like when people think of within, you think of my organs and my blood cells and my bones, and yes, that's a part of it. We are the micro to the macro, and we're also the macro to the micro when it comes to expression of consciousness and energy. So the kingdom within is, you could say it's your soul. You could say it's where you find that zen between mind, body, and soul. It's where you go when you meditate. It's what guides you in this life. It's your subconscious mind. There's just so many layers to it. Many traditions speak of the inner kingdom within, and this is nothing new at all. It's not a place outside of you. It's an inner state of awareness. When your mind becomes clear, your inner world becomes more orderly, more balanced, meaning that your perception of the external world will also reflect that in whatever way, shape, or form. This is why mastery of self always begins with the mind, not the external things. We always think that we have to reach to a tool or a thing outside of us to discover more about ourselves, and to an extent that is true, but if we simply just sit with our breath and our mind and our thoughts, have you ever gave yourself time to just dive deep into yourself? No matter how boring it was, no matter what came up, you'd be surprised what you can tap into. So let's get into the nitty-gritty. These are going to be the books that they haven't given me the answers. I'm gonna let you know that now. but they helped me form better questions. I don't necessarily agree with everything in every single one of these books, but there are so many things that resonate with me and that do align. And that is important to know. These books aren't your one-all be-all. If that works for you, then that's cool. Just know that knowing thyself requires discernment. So whatever tool you choose to use to explore, just have discernment within it. So let's get started. I need some orange juice. The first book I will leave up here somewhere. This is the Kybalion. I do not have a physical copy anymore. I've probably read the Kybalion maybe 3-4 times. It's not that thick of a read, really. But it is a great book to take notes on, essentially. If you see me looking down, this is just the notes that I have taken. The Kybalion, it was written by the 3 initiates. This book introduces hermetic principles that focus on the mind as the foundation of your reality, mentalism, polarity, rhythm, cause, and effect. This book in particular really helped me to understand the laws of the universe, that there is an order, there is a structure to how things flow, and to an extent, most of these can be seen and proven scientifically through physics. And once you know that there's a certain order to how things manifest into your reality, this energetic universe is responding to you. And it helped me understand that the mind is creative, it's not passive. And knowing thyself begins with understanding how the mind works. And I do believe that the main thing that really stood out to me in this book, if I'm recalling correctly, is that all is mind. And if all is mind, then we do have the power to create our reality. But if we don't really even understand how our mind works, then how will we ever know? We will consistently be projecting and manifesting things that may not be in alignment with ourselves, and we may blame it on external things when in reality we are the ones who've created these certain outcomes in our reality. The next book I'm going to be recommending is Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza. This is a popular one everybody talks about. This book is great because it bridges neuroscience, meditation, the subconscious mind, consciousness into an organized way for anybody to understand. I would say this is a book that you need to take your time reading. But he even includes scientific studies, different frequencies and sound waves of the mind and what states of the mind do XYZ, and the changes in energy from just simply how your body changes in energy simply through meditations. It talks a lot about coherence, heart's coherence, which is so fascinating. So it bridges the mind and also the intelligence of the heart, and how we can heal ourselves, how we can become more present with ourselves and manifest certain things into our reality, just by the being that we are. Great book recommendation. If you're wanting to know thyself and understand more about how your mind works, this is a book that I highly, highly, highly recommend. It shows how thoughts and emotions wire the brain and the body. We can reprogram ourselves, essentially. This book teaches us that mastery of self starts with rewiring our emotions and our mental conditioning and programming. So great book, highly recommend. The next book that I'm going to be sharing with you is a recent read, and I love it. I love it so much. This book is called Outsmarting Reality by KnowKnowledge. He is a YouTuber as well. So if you guys want to dive deeper into understanding his teachings and wisdom, I highly recommend his channel to you guys. But I love this book so much. Outsmarting Reality. This book goes deep into how our minds have the power to create our reality. This book focuses on mental sovereignty and discernment, and that we create our quote unquote demons or this other version of ourselves. So every time we're trying to shift into a new state of being, the old self is going to try to bring us back because it needs our emotions, it needs our energy to exist. And it's not to say it's a bad thing, but if you've created an energy and your older self was like very, you could say your older self was lacking in abundance, and you're like, oh, only bad things happen to me, I'm not lucky, my life sucks, and you're trying to shift into this mindset of like, I'm the luckiest person ever, amazing things are happening to me, then just know that that past version of yourself is gonna try to continuously sway your focus. So this book really dives deep into that aspect and the power of redirecting our mind and our thoughts and just having confidence and just trust in one's sovereignty and much, much more. I highly recommend this book. It definitely helped me question external narratives and really be like, wait, is this really external, or is this really just my internal world projecting this externally? It really shows what beliefs are shaping my perception. And before even getting to know yourself on a deep level, you must recognize what energies, what thoughts are even yours to begin with. Another great book that I love. I'm actually going to be reading through it again soon because there's just so many things that I don't feel like I've really processed. But this is the Emerald Tablets by Billy Carson. Billy Carson also has a YouTube. If you are more interested into him, he's a great wisdom keeper, I would say. This book was definitely a code written book. If you're trying to understand this book from a literal perspective, I think you would have a challenging time. But if you're willing to open your mind and read between the lines of what the Emerald Tablets are telling you and just dive deeper into your curiosity, then this book will really help you to understand your subconscious mind and how your mind works, not in a linear way at all times. This book explores ancient symbolism, sacred geometry, and consciousness across civilizations. Once again, it's not about literal belief, but understanding how ancient wisdom is encoded in knowledge all around the world, and that these ancient symbols hold so much truth and power into figuring out the deeper mysteries of our existence. Definitely deepened my inner understanding of knowing thyself from a universal concept and less of a intrapersonal concept. So I highly recommend. This is a fun read. The Emerald Tablets. Another book that has really helped me is How to Heal Toxic Thoughts. And this is a thin book. I think there's only like 114 pages in this book. And if you struggle with intrusive thoughts, if you have a hard time grounding into truth, if your mind runs your world in a very chaotic way, This book is really going to help you rewire your mind and understand why you're thinking the way that you are thinking. Are these thoughts even yours? Are these things that you've heard through childhood, from family, from a traumatic experience, from movies, TV shows? It really dives deeper into building a better relationship with your mindset. Because your mind is your ally, your mind is not your enemy. So if you want to really shift from that enemy to the ally, this is a great book. This is more on having compassion with ourselves from a mental awareness, healing those self-critical thoughts, the self-limiting beliefs. A huge lesson I learned on my journey of healing and knowing myself is that I must have a compassionate mental space. I must be compassionate towards myself. Self-mastery requires kindness. Okay? And sorry, this book is by Sandra Ingerman. Sandra Ingerman. The next book I have is A Conscious Person's Guide to Relationships. And this one is by Ken Keyes. I found this book, I want to say I found this book randomly at some old bookstore. And it was like super cheap. I think it was like $3-4. But this is the best book I've read on relationships. Like, seriously. And I bring this into the consideration of knowing thyself, because if you do not know thyself and how you respond to things, if you don't have a good understanding of how your ego is in play and how your ego creates certain relationships versus your heart space creates different relationships, I don't see how you will ever be able to connect deeply with somebody and understand others outside of yourself. And so this brings some amazing concepts on how do I know myself through others, and how do others reflect to me or mirror to me things that I don't know about myself yet. The next book I think everybody else should read as well is The 4 Agreements. We all, know the 4 Agreements, hopefully. Everybody talks about this book, but it's really great. It's a great book. I have the companion book. I have the other one as well, but this one goes a little bit deeper and forces you to have more depth and reflection on the 4 Agreements. This teaches us that the mastery of self is rooted in awareness. Awareness is to become something lived and not memorized. It's important not to take things personal, because when you know thyself, you're able to have the awareness that, oh, this is outside of me. I need to come back to myself. And there's just so many other great agreements. I don't want to spoil it for you. It really helps you find that middle ground of ego, attachment, detachment, freedom, flow. But this is an easy read, but I'm not going to say that the agreements are easy to practice or apply to life. I find myself coming back to these more and more. And I feel like if you've read this book, you know that when certain moments arise in your life that are challenging or confronting, or maybe your ego is playing a role or things feel imbalanced, you have to come back to this 4 agreements of like, oh yeah, this is why, like, I shouldn't take things personally. This is a practice-based book, I would say, that you really need to apply and come back to consistently. Definitely take some notes on it and journal about it. And give yourself patience and time. Don't expect yourself to be like, I read this book, so I'm a better me. This gives you the knowledge to understand how you respond to things that maybe you don't need to respond to. It is teaching you a sense of mastery of oneself. This book is also Don Miguel Ruiz, one of my favorite authors as well. I think I have most of his books. This is not sponsored, but if you would like to sponsor me. Anyways, moving along. The next book by Don Miguel Ruiz is The Mastery of Self. Yes. This is the book. This book ties everything together, and it explains a lot about the Maya, the illusion, the external world, and the external consciousness, and your world and your consciousness, and mastering a life outside of the world. You create the reality that you want to live in. This definitely taught me inner authority, emotional awareness, and creating a conscious response instead of a reaction. Mastery of self here is awareness paired with compassion. Highly recommend this book. Once again, this is a book that you might have to come back to. Like, I have so many things highlighted in this book that I really need to come back and journal on. But it's a great book. It has practices in it, things you can journal about as well. It talks about the parasite and the ally of the mind. This part of the book really had me like, yo, I don't want to feed my mental parasite, you know? I want to feed my mind ally. So, highly recommend this book. This is a keeper. The next book is Remember Who You Are by David Starr and John Amaro. Don't quote me. This is a beautiful book, and it's a simple read, but it's definitely a meditative book, I would say. There's a lot of nice images in here about consciousness, coming back to yourself. I love how it's written. This is a great reminder, and it's also a beautiful work of art. Surrender. This is, very creative piece, and I feel like this is a great book to read when you are going on a plant medicine journey, deep into meditation or spiritual work. It really just pulls you in to yourself. This book reminded me that knowing thyself is also remembering that you are not separate from life. And this is a great book that teaches you the mastery of self through awareness, but in a grounded way, and not through escapism. A lot of times we are going within, and we can become a little bit delusional of like, this is my reality, I create my reality. Yes, but also remember, you are here to experience life in all of its polarity, and learning to surrender to life is also a part of knowing thyself and learning to master thyself. These books are not meant to be consumed. They are meant to be integrated. They are meant for you to sit in presence with self and really dive into the wisdom that comes up from within you. And these books may just be a reflection or a mirror of that wisdom. But once again, take what resonates, leave what does not. Remember, it's okay to read slowly. It's okay to reread chapters, reread pages. I am one of those people, as you saw, I take mad notes in my books. I underline them. I annotate my books. I'm not one of those people who's like, my books have to be super nice and clean and blah, blah, blah. And like, if you're selling them or whatever, that's great. But even when I buy used books, I appreciate that people have annotated things, because that's like, okay, this is a main point that I could also focus on. So it's okay to get comfortable with your books and just start highlighting stuff, Journal one insight at a time. Sit with this wisdom. Come back to it. Come back to the reflections. That it's important to come back and reflect on all of the wisdom you've gathered through these readings. As you're reading these, let your nervous system create the pace and find the pace, because some of these books maybe you're not ready for yet. Some of these books, maybe you only need to read a chapter a year, and then they'll be like, okay, let's move on. So, like, find your sweet spot with the wisdom and the knowledge of these books. Books did not define me. They helped me remember who I am. They helped me remember the knowledge and the wisdom within myself. And there's so much more to go. But it's also okay to slow down and just to integrate. Some of these books may take years to integrate, to really dive into. They may align to certain times in your life, certain scenarios, seasons of your life more than others. So allow it to come naturally. Thank you again, beautiful souls, beautiful beings. Thank you so much for your presence, so much gratitude. If you've read any of these books, please leave a comment below and maybe share your favorite parts of these books or any other book recommendations that you have. This is going to be part 1 of the series. I have so many more books that I would like to share with you, but also still some books that I'm reading. If you are being called to any of these books, please leave a comment below. Ciao. Deuces.